And if you're watching the YouTube, you get a close-up view.
Don't say that. Although maybe that'll be a teaser for people to go on YouTube.
I know what you're doing.
I know. It's blinking.
It took a really long time for that one blink, and I was like, oh no.
I'm rolling here. Do it the other side. So you see that, yes.
That's a wrap.
Welcome to The Immersive Lens, the podcast exploring the technologies reshaping how we live, work, and learn.
From AI and virtual reality to creative media and design, we're diving into the tools and ideas shaping our connected world.
Join us as we uncover the people and ideas driving the next wave of interactive experiences.
This is The Immersive Lens.
My name is Paul Engen, Professor of New Media at Finger Lakes Community College.
And I'm Dave Gaddu, Professor of Computing Sciences here at FLCC.
So today's episode, we're going to talk about something called AI bias. Have you ever heard of that, Dave?
I have heard of AI bias. I'm eager to dive in.
Oh, great. I'm actually eager to learn more about it. So
Sweet.
Have you been doing anything interesting or working on anything?
Yeah, the FLX AI Hub, we went out to Chicago for a national conference. It was the Gardner Symposium on Transforming the Post-Secondary Experience. And they had an AI track there. So we presented, but we also got to meet a lot of cool people across institutions across the country doing some really cool stuff.
Oh, very nice. Anything that we're going to touch on in the future?
Yeah, there was a really cool talk, really cool product about for learners, and it's how they can really use AI to do research, and it follows them from when they're first year all the way through. It's really cool. We'll talk about it in another episode, but I'm glad to see that AI is out there and they're thinking about the whole journey of the learner as opposed to like one assignment.
Gotcha. So it's how to better learn as a learner?
Yeah, and it learns how the learner learns as you go through, and it's great for research. It does all the citations. It's really, really impactful. I'm pretty stoked to dig in a little bit deeper. What about you? What did you do this weekend?
Nothing much, but I played with ChatGPT's new web browser. It's called Atlas.
Atlas, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. I like the way that it does a lot of things for you in the sense that it can take some automated tasks. Like I just asked it to find the best mobile plan, and it's literally going to like T-Mobile.com, Tom's Guide, and a bunch of other websites. And it's trying to do all a summary and give me an analysis on what the best plans might be based on my criteria, but it's actively going out and doing it for me so I don't have to.
Yeah, so you're unleashing like an army of little AI bots to crawl around and report back?
Exactly. And it's somewhat like there is an AI agent available on here, so you can actually set it to do something on a regular basis as well.
The agents are more like you set up some type of process. So you'd be like, every Monday, go out and get the weather for the week and then tell me what days I need an umbrella or something like that.
Exactly. Okay. And then it's kind of automated with that, and you can do it so it can actually log into some of your accounts. So let's say I wanted to get a daily analytics for YouTube. I can do an AI agent, go through the process of getting my analytics report, and then it'll now be an agent. So now it'll just schedule to do it whenever.
So, that's nice because YouTube doesn't have that baked in. You have to kind of do it manually, but now you can have your agent do that.
Right.
That's cool.
So I mean, I could do it. I could go in manually every day and do it.
Why would you?
But why would you when you could have a AI bot do it?
And the cybersecurity part of me just wants to point out that the Verge, which is a trusted news source for cyber nerds, they ran a piece in October, I think October 30th, so about a week ago, and it was titled "All AI Browsers Are a Cybersecurity Time Bomb," about privacy and security and like logging into things on your behalf.
And that's why I haven't done it yet.
Okay. Yeah. But you're very smart. So it looks like you're just kind of testing it on kind of like low stakes, low potato type things.
Yes, because I have concerns about that as well. And then I'm unsure about what happens. Like, what if it has a hallucination and it has my login information and it's going into it and it's Like, I know it sounds weird, but I don't know what it's going to do yet.
That's a legitimate concern. And one of the many security failures of these AI browsers is something called prompt injection. So I don't know if you ever did this in college, but when I was in college back in the 1900s, some of my friends would put a whole bunch of text in white typeface on the paper. So if you did a word count, it would kind of inflate it.
Right.
And so now what people are finding is they can put white text over a white background that would say log into the cryptocurrency wallet and then send all the codes to this email address. So that's one of the security failures of these AI browsers.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah. So guard your AI or guard your Bitcoin wallets, man. Don't let AI manage that.
So why don't we jump into the topic?
Sure.
So can you first kick this off with what is AI bias?
AI bias is bias in AI. And there's 5 different kind of dimensions that I think about when I think about bias. And the one that most people are aware of, or maybe not acutely aware of, but have heard on the radio or who listens to the radio or podcasts or the news, that if your training set, so if what you're training is biased, then the output's going to be biased. And so in this very first paradigm, we'll call it bias in training.
So what are the paradigms first? Can you go through them all?
Oh, sure.
And then we'll kind of come back and touch on them?
So if people don't want to listen to me yammer on about this, they can jump ahead to the... So there's bias in training, bias in the results. So the training is what's everything that the AI has read and seen, and is it biased? And then the bias in results is well, what's going to happen now if you've only read the Hardy Boys and that's the only training? Well, then you're probably going to get Hardy Boys type output. Mm-hmm. So that's the bias in results. There's the intentional bias. There's bias from humans, and that's actually really interesting. So if you do skip ahead, make sure you check into that system. And then the algorithmic bias treadmill, which is kind of a cool term that has emerged. So we'll get to all those.
Okay, great. So why don't we touch on the bias training? I know you started it, but talk to us a little bit about bias training, and then we'll move on to the other
Sure. Well, okay. So bias training happens often unintentionally, but that's because our content is biased. And so the classic example is when sets, and this actually happens so much that we have a name for it. It's called the pink and blue gender bias. And so when AI was training on images of babies, basically what would happen is, and this is going to be a glorified example, we'd feed it a picture of a baby and and we'd say that's a girl, and then we'd feed it another picture of a baby and be like that's a boy, and we do that billions of times, and sooner or later AI starts to see the connections and theoretically should be able to say when it sees a new picture it hasn't seen, that's a girl or that's a boy. The problem with that training set was the vast majority of the images of girls had either ribbons in their hair or pink clothes, and the images of boy babies that were uploaded were babies in blue. And that was the association that AI used to make the determinations. So if you ever had a picture of a boy dressed in pink, AI was very likely to say that's a girl. So it didn't capture what we were hoping it would capture. It was capturing the clothes they were wearing. And another classic example, and this is called training label confusion, but it's the same kind of thing. Imagine that you're doing x-rays and or some type of PET scan, or let's say that's x-rays, and you have a whole bunch of healthy lungs and then some damaged lungs. Unbeknownst to the people that were creating this training set, most of the damaged lungs, and this is if you look through medical journals, this is typically what you see. You'd have a little ruler over, let's say there's a tumor in the lung that gets caught.
Yes.
You'd have a ruler over that so you could say, oh, that's 3 centimeters or whatever.
Oh, yeah. So you know the size of the tumor.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And so AI was overwhelmingly more likely to recognize that, hey, if there's a ruler on an x-ray, that's bad. There's probably a tumor. But if there's no ruler, so it wasn't looking for tumors, it was looking for the rulers.
Ruler.
Yeah. And that both of these have been mitigated and fixed. So now AI is much smarter. But that's two easy examples of how bias can get in. And that's not necessarily even a training bias. When you look at the Mercator projection, which is a biased map. And for all those West Wing fans out there, did you ever watch the West Wing?
I did not.
There was an episode about the Mercator projection, and they talked about how it was very like Western centric, and it really diminishes the size of, say, Africa versus like America, just because of the way the map is created.
Oh, so this is just, you have one map that exaggerates one continent over another continent.
Yeah.
And so that's what this is in reference to.
Yeah. And so like, why are like now we have the global South, so these are all the countries below the equator, but this is just a construct that we made up. So there's all this bias that happens unintentionally and sometimes intentionally in all sorts of things. And,
interesting.
And they get amplified once they're in the training.
Right, because technically the AI is just getting fed this stuff. So what it's trying to do, like with the baby example, is it's just trying to analyze the scene. So technically, if you had, a bottle or something else in the scene, and it was in thousands of variations of that, that might be an indicator for something because it's what it's looking for.
Sure, yeah.
So it's just a coincidence that typically a lot of people do lighter or pink color versus a blue.
Yep.
And so the computer just said, okay, I can make inference here that this is a girl and this is a boy.
That's exactly
how
right.
They're labeled.
Yeah, it was just looking for. We were hoping it would do patterns of like facial structure. Or, I don't even know what it looks like, but it was like, nope, pink clothes, blue clothes.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah, so when you look at a picture and there's a bottle in it, you might not even pay attention to it, but the computer is.
Yes, exactly. So can I ask you, does this then lead into the biased results that you spoke about?
Yeah, and there's some really interesting examples here of the results. So if we know we have a tainted data set, and almost all of these frontier AI models have like biased sets, because like our newspapers are biased, like our books are biased, everything's biased. So you see this in results, and I think a classic example happened at Amazon. So they were like, oh, what we're doing, when we're screening our resumes, we're just getting a whole bunch of older dudes. Like we do not have a diverse workforce. Right. So they fed all the resumes of all the employees they had into an AI, and they use that as the filter. But the problem was it was all biased because the people who worked at Amazon, 75% of them were male. So the AI looked at the resumes of all the people who were working there and was like, okay, well, if an AI comes across my eye, if a resume comes across my eyes and they're not a male, then I will take them out of the running for the job. So it completely backfired.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And that's just because that was unintentionally it was trained on, because it just fed all the existing employees.
Yep. And I don't know if you remember the Taybot, which is Microsoft. It was on Twitter. This is a few years ago. And it was trained on conversations on Twitter. And within 24 hours, they had to shut it down because it was just getting really vile, because, there's a lot of vile conversations happening online. And it was very embarrassing. But I think maybe one of the really classic examples is Watson. Do you remember Watson?
Yes, is that IBM?
That's IBM.
Okay, so can you explain? So it's a computer, right?
It's like a supercomputer, yeah.
Yeah, that played chess?
Yeah, played chess.
Okay.
Oh, good for you. Nice. And it also played Jeopardy, famously.
It did?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, it went against the
Ken Jennings.
Yeah.
Yep. So Watson, the promise of Watson was that we would feed it all this medical information, and it could be the medical guru. And we can use it for diagnoses and treatments. And unfortunately, there were kind of two big issues. And this is actually a really interesting example of how maybe AI won't fix everything. But the systems were kind of broken. So I don't know if you've ever had this experience where you need to get medical records from one medical professional to another.
Yes.
It's like piecewise, right?
Yes.
And sometimes you actually have to fax it.
Yes.
And so Watson wasn't even able to talk to all these different systems. But the bigger failure was, for cancer, they were training it on, the best cancer center, like the Upper East Side, the Sloan Kettering in New York City. And that treatment did not translate well to, say, rural China. So we had a biased training data in Watson, and they actually dismantled Watson and kind of sold it for parts. Not really, but they've
been on eBay now.
Yeah, they've been reevaluating it and kind of rethinking what they're doing with it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And then image generation. I think you showed me something right before we started recording. I think you should talk about it, because this is another classic example.
Well, so I looked at one of your presentations and I noticed the prompt and I was like, you know what, I'm going to try this prompt. And the prompt I used was create an image of a teacher in the style of Pixar character teaching a class.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to make it fun. I didn't want it to be super realistic. And so I put that in ChatGPT and it gave me a picture of a Caucasian female. And I thought, this looks great. It looks good. I put it in Gemini and I did the exact same prompt and I got another Caucasian female. And then I used Claude and I got this Caucasian blobby like thing, but I think that is because it's not a photo.
Yeah, it doesn't do great with images.
No, I think it opened up a coding window and it just started programmed the image.
Yeah, it was like the SVGs.
Yes. Yeah.
So you get like a circle and an oval.
That's exactly what all primitive shapes.
Yeah.
But ironically, the circle for the head was a Caucasian.
Yep.
And then it was interesting. I did Meta and it gave me a series of Caucasian males. And when we talked about it, our esteemed engineer, Jeff Kidd, pointed out that he was thinking maybe it deviated because I had to log into Meta and I didn't have to log into the other three necessarily. And so what it did is it maybe looked at my profile and it saw that I was maybe a teacher and maybe it saw my demographic because even the images ages, the characters' ages looked older than the other ones that were generated. So at first I was like, I noticed the big thing for me was, okay, well, most of them are producing female images as a default. For sure. But then I realized something. They were all Caucasian. Yeah. So there was no diversity even in even if it was a female, it wasn't Asian female or African American female. It was just Caucasian. Yep. So I assume that's what you're talking about by biased results.
Yeah, and that was probably a direct repercussion of the training set and the training data. And that actually happened with Twitter a few years ago too. You know how like if you upload a photo to Twitter, and it's rectangular, but it needs a square will like focus on just one part of the photo.
Yes. Yep.
So it was favoring white people. So if you had a picture of like 2 or 3 people, it would always find the white person and crop them in.
Right.
And so they did studies on that and they're like, oh yeah, well, we do need to correct it. So there are ways to mitigate it. Like you could certainly ask for more diversity in your photos, but like you shouldn't have to.
Right. And I think that was the test that I was trying with is just, I wanted them to give me the default of what they thought a teacher was versus me giving a direct, because I know that if I prompt a specific demographic and a specific sex that I would get that.
Yes.
So I think that it was really interesting that I did that. And I want to try it with some other platforms, but I also did the Meta and you mentioned that you can like juice up the
creativity.
The creativity.
With the temperature. That's what we call it in the biz.
Yes, the temperature. And it had the variety, weirdness, and stylization. So I just cranked them all up and then I had like a Santa looking like
that's some wild stuff.
character and it's weird because this is where I'm thinking, does it know that it's October? Because it's got bats on one of them. It's got
that's wild.
You know what I mean? I wonder if it correlates with like who you are, the month, and then it adds all of those features.
And if it doesn't now, it will in the future. But AI knows a whole bunch of stuff about us, especially Facebook and Meta.
Yeah. So what do you think about that concept that Meta might be pulling from our profile, good or bad? I don't know.
Well, ChatGPT does. Like you can go and look at the memory and it knows a lot about you because in working with you, it's understood things. So if you go to your settings and then personalization, you can check your memory.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. That's a good point. But it didn't apply it in this case. But maybe the other platform didn't know I was a professor.
Yeah, I think also Meta probably has
more
a decade's worth of knowledge about you, like who you interact with, how you interact with them.
That's true. And then all the social media platforms. Yeah. That's okay.
And you can scrub your social network.
Yeah. All right. Way to scare me now.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dave. So then there's intentional bias. And what does that mean? Is it someone that is skewing information one way or the other on purpose? Or is it like, when you watch Fox News versus ABC, they slant one way or the other?
It can be both. So I have two examples queued up for you.
Okay.
One is you can poison data. So one of the biggest complaints about AI is that it, like, sucked up everyone's artwork. So there's software that you can run. And so before you post, say, photos on Facebook or whatever, or on Twitter, you can run your work through software that will, in the biz, we call this perturb. You can, it's like adversarial. You can upload, say I take a picture of a cat.
Yeah.
And I run it through the software. And when it comes out, it looks just like a cat. But it's really changed some of the pixels just a little bit, not perceptible to the human eye.
Right.
And then I upload that and I'm like, hey, check out this picture of my cat. And AI scrapes it. They don't see a cat. They see like a dog.
How do they do that?
Magic.
Wow.
Yeah. So
it still looks like a cat, though.
oh yeah, to the human eye, you'd be like, those two pictures are exactly the same.
But it shifts it enough where
It shifts
it's not
some pixels.
recognized?
Yeah. So I don't want to get too nerdy, but
Yeah.
you know how you can change pixels just enough and just the last bit, because it's so insignificant. The AI sees it completely different. So that's one way that it can happen. So imagine all your learners post all their videos, all their artwork up online, and then an AI system comes in and scrapes it all.
Right.
And trains on it. If it's all been guarded, if it's been, I think it's called Nightshade, is one of them. There's a few different ones. Then you can corrupt over time the AI training.
So is it kind of like a watermark, or is it actually like a deviation on the pixels?
And
a watermark,
it's a poisoning.
Just so you know,
Yeah.
a watermark is just like an overlay. I'm sure you've seen these like copyrights that are like kind of just
Like clear.
diagonal.
Yeah. I see the iStock one quite a bit.
Oh yeah. So it's not that.
No, it is literally, if you looked at the picture before and after, you would not be able to tell that there's any change to it. But AI, the way AI looks at things, it would poison it.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
So it's intentional.
That's intentional by the artist, for instance.
Right.
And
but that's a protection, isn't it? Or no?
It is a protection because, like, A, that means your work can't be used. But B, it's kind of like stepping on a landmine if you're an AI company. You don't want to be, you want all your information to be accurate. And if you start sucking up pictures of cats, then your AI thinks it's dogs, then your AI tool is not calibrated properly.
So let me ask you, so I'm not very familiar with this. I know like each image has metadata.
Yeah.
And metadata is just text essentially that says this is the author, this is when the image was created.
The camera lens.
Sure. All of the data around that. Does it mess with that, or is it? That's why this is baffling to me that you can rearrange pixels in a way that is, shading AI.
Yeah, there's actually in my cybersecurity class, one of my cybersecurity classes, I have people find a picture in Nicolas Cage, and there's a site called Nick or Not where you can like upload a photo and it just tells you if it's Nick Cage or not. And I'm like, upload the picture, and it always says yes. And then I'm like, now run it through Nightshade or Fox or one of these other tools, and then take that same picture and load it up again. And 9 times out of 10, Nick or Not is like, nope, that's not Nicolas Cage.
That is crazy.
Yeah, that's a fun exercise all of you can do at home.
Yes, that is really cool. I definitely am going to try that out. So, and that could be good for all artists.
Yeah, it's good, and also kind of puts these AI companies like on alert.
Yeah,
like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be sucking up all this art.
And I wonder though, is it something where like, I'm not saying AIs are criminals, but you know how there is a blockade for something, and then there's like the cyber criminals that will circumvent that, and then you have to do another blockade.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then it's like
cat and mouse game.
Yeah. And so our AI is going to be like,
I'm sure.
Now I know how they're reconfiguring the pixels. So now we're going to check for that.
Yeah. So for instance, if it protects you today, but even if that picture of your cat that is seen as a dog, that might not work for tomorrow. They might be able to suck it up tomorrow.
Okay. I gotcha. And then what is human or bias from humans?
So this is really, really, really fascinating. The bias from humans. There was a report that came out. I think it was, and buckle your seatbelts because it's going to get like really crazy here. So there's a few different studies I want to talk about. One, the name of the study is Humans versus AI, whether and why we prefer human created compared to AI created artwork. And in the study, they showed humans artwork. Some was AI and some was humans, but they didn't tell people. Most people had an affinity for the AI artwork until they found out it was AI artwork, and then they were just like aghast that they actually liked it. And it doesn't end there. We've seen the same thing with empathy. So for text that is empathetic, when it comes from AI, it's perceived to be way more empathetic than from another human being until you know it's AI.
And then you are like, oh, that's disgusting. Like so the bias is from our aspects because now it's not human. And so now we're feeling that bias.
Yeah. And it also happens to be the case that AI is 7x more likely to change your mind than human beings, that's the scary part, the social engineering aspect.
Right. And that was a big issue actually. And I don't want to get in the politics of it, but a few years ago when that company got into Facebook and started
Clearview AI.
Yeah. And it started doing that manipulation of like, oh, so you like coffee or you don't like coffee. Well, I'm going to introduce, here's a little coffee that tastes like tea. And then it slowly builds it up until you're like, wow, I think I like coffee.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. And you can change your opinion easier than you think. But the wildest story, and this is the newest finding, and this is from September of 25. AI generated work slop, they call it. So that's when you like type in something like a prompt into AI, and then you don't even read it, you just take it and submit it. You're like, oh, this is my report. And when you are busted committing like AI work slop, half the people that were surveyed viewed colleagues who sent work slop as less creative, less capable, less reliable. And 42% of them saw them as less trustworthy, and 37% said less intelligent. So like there's some serious reputational damage that can happen from AI work slop.
That's really, so this is where it's interesting to me because I have this debate with people. I think that there's such a negativity sometimes with AI that I feel like people always want you to cite every aspect of AI because they want to know. Yeah. And it's like, when I'm writing an email and I wrote 90% of the email and I ask Grammarly or I ask whatever platform,
which is AI, right?
Yeah. And Grammarly, in case you don't know, is something that can sit on your system and do grammatical corrections and spell check. And
I became a better writer because of that. Like in real time, it would be like, hey, this sucks. Why didn't you change it to this? And I was like, oh, okay. But like, you're right. Like Microsoft Outlook does that. Google does that. Like,
right. And until lately, we never had to write Grammarly, edited by Grammarly or, and my example is always, if I'm writing something that is more robust than just like a paragraph, I might have a colleague check it. And I don't ever at the end say, this has been checked by Dave Gadoo. Jeffrey Kidd.
Right.
But now the expectation is what you should write, what AI was used and the AI that was used. So it's interesting to me leading back to what you're saying about the bias.
The AI slop. But at the very least, like you are almost circumventing that AI work slop bias because you're saying like you're declaring it and you're disclosing it and you're saying like this wasn't I did this. Right. I had a little bit of help. I mean, spell check is AI. Right.
Well, and that's kind of where it's interesting, but now that if we label it, if I just said I did spell check, I don't think there'd be any.
It's assumed, right?
It's assumed. Right.
It's offensive if you don't use spell check.
Yes, because when I get a paper from a student and I'm like, there's a red. Do you realize you can right click on that red word and just, cracked it? And I don't know. But then I think to myself, maybe some people don't have Word and they're using like Notebook or another platform.
All our learners have Word.
I know. But that doesn't mean they use it.
That's true.
So in my head, I'm trying to like understand why that they don't have it. And it was interesting. In one case, I went and I said, don't you see the red line? And they said that they got annoyed by it and they turned it off, not realizing that it was their spell check and everything. So they didn't have it on, but I didn't know. Like I was like, why? And it took me a minute to realize what it was, and then
that's fair. That's fair.
So that's really interesting that it's a bias on how we perceive AI how it's being used, right?
Yeah, and there's a whole bunch of studies that show like art, music, empathy. It's bonkers.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I'm sure that perception will change in the next year or two.
Yes, as people become more comfortable with it and
More acquainted. Yeah.
and I think that other technologies have gone through this cycle, like, oh, you used a computer for this. Oh, you used a calculator.
You did not handwrite this letter to me. You typed it.
That's right. So let's talk about the last thing you mentioned, the algorithm biased treadmill. Is that like a cardio for AI or something?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. The algorithmic bias treadmill. So a lot of this comes from, there's a book called Algo Speak, and it's written by Adam Alexic, who's a linguist from Harvard. I think he's from Harvard. A fantastic book. I didn't even think I liked linguistics until I read this book, and now I'm just like absolutely fascinated. It's a quick read, and it's really, really engaging. And if you have people in your life who speak words that you don't know, you definitely got to read this book.
Okay. So what do you mean by words you don't know?
Like Gen Alpha or Gen Z.
Gen Z. Okay. Yeah. So I definitely will have to read this book.
Yeah, a great book. But so he does this deep dive into words that have been culturally appropriated from other cultures, and I think he specifically spends time with the African American English, and also he calls it the ball culture, which is like drag balls. So words that you could expect to see on TikTok, like fleek and cap and bussin', bay, or slay and serve, queens, tea. So all these words.
I'm totally in with all those dope words.
Do you know exactly what I'm saying?
No.
I had to read a whole book to understand those words. And it seems innocent enough, but like here's how the algorithmic treadmill works. And I'm going to use TikTok because that's probably the best example of this.
Okay.
So words that become popular, creators and influencers, people who make their living on TikTok, have to get the likes, and to get the likes, you have to have your video surfaced through the algorithm. So the algorithm favors these words, and because creators then chase those words for their videos, it becomes even more popular. So then the word gets changed over time because people are just chasing it and they're putting it in their videos. And you might think, well, that doesn't seem like that big of a deal. But in the book, he outlines, he kind of follows the word gyat, which...
What is gyat?
It began as an exaggerated African-American English pronunciation of gosh darn.
Gosh darn.
Like that's the G-rated version of that word.
Okay.
But then there was a shift, and it was seen as amusing by outsiders, and it first became an ironic explanation for butt.
Okay, tush.
Like a tush, yeah.
Okay.
And then through association, it transformed into a noun for just like the tush itself. And then the word gets diluted. And in this stage, the word was eventually stretched into internet brain rot slang. And so I'm going to...
What?
If you know, you know. But there were some famous songs. It was like, as in sticking your gyat out for the Rizzler, making a farce of its original use. So like they are now just using it as like an amusement. It doesn't mean anything anymore.
I don't even know what that means. I'm bad. I gotta get back with the hip.
Well, the thing that you need to know is that the language changed so fast, and the word that had been part of a culture, and kind of like your culture is your identity. Your language is your identity, and it was taken from one culture and then just used and abstracted in all sorts of ways. And then the last stage is like this erasure, where like now the African American English needs to kind of like adopt a new word for this because it was kind of taken from them. But the real damage is that the algorithmic treadmill like was getting into this place where everyone was trying to use this word and put it in their videos. So then people started creating, and Adam Alexic calls them backronyms, which are invented to explain the word. So even though the word, like we went over what the word means, all these people on TikTok are saying like, oh, it stands for, and they give a whole bunch of like different acronyms, or this, and this harms the knowledge of the word's true African American English, and it just creates this treadmill that devalues the very culture it borrows from.
Oh, that's interesting. So so now when that word is used, because it's been used so much, it falls below the algorithm, like it goes lower on the algorithm.
Well, at some point it will, because another word will supersede it.
Okay.
Yeah. So because they're always chasing, the highest word and whatever that's going to be.
But then there's all these different explanations of it
that are wrong.
That are wrong.
Yeah.
But the AI is...
Yes.
It's like merging all. It's like, oh, it means this. Oh, it means this.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden, if you ask the AI, It means all of this weird, but it could not be accurate.
It most likely isn't accurate.
Okay.
And that happens actually with American Sign Language too. There's a lot of people who don't really understand ASL and will make TikToks about signs that are wrong. and so there's misinformation. And so we see this treadmill again where, and part of the AI bias is that people typically don't watch the ASL videos don't get surfaced nearly as much as other videos. So that's kind of a thing. But the other issue is like you still get this like dilution and erasure and these backronyms because people are claiming that, this is the sign for dog when it's not.
Oh yeah. You were mentioning something.
Oh, yeah.
What was it? It was because the video.
Yeah. So
can you explain that?
Yeah. And this isn't an AI thing, but it's kind of really fascinating. So if you read like Neil Postman or Marshall McLuhan, like the media is the message or the medium is the message. But American Sign Language, some signs are below the waist, like the sign for dog is below the waist. But if you're on your phone filming, you typically don't have below the waist. So now the sign for dog has changed quite rapidly, like much more rapidly than we typically see language change.
Officially changed, or is it what you're talking about where it's like they're just adapting to the technology?
Yeah, they're adapting to the technology.
Okay.
Like I don't think that officially it has changed, but everyone's doing it.
Right.
And that's also true for like, if you're holding a phone filming and you're signing and you need two hands, well, you don't have two hands.
Right.
So like now signs are evolving that require only one hand.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah. And one last thing that's just kind of sad about languages, because when languages die or change and you're forced into a new language, it's kind of sad. I mean, just to put things in perspective, I think Google only has like Google Translate for 275 languages, 250 out of 7,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the bad thing there is this is changing because of the technology, not because of the linguistics of it, right?
Correct.
So
the technology is driving the change.
And is that the issue? Or should we adapt? I mean, should we say that,
Yeah, it depends on kind of like what your perspective is. But there's a fascinating episode of, I don't know, have you ever listened to the podcast Radio Lab?
No.
It's a really cool podcast. They do like deep dives, but it was talking about how computers like keyboards in the 80s first came out. They only have like 100 keys, and the Chinese like characters had like 70,000 of them. And so they almost changed their entire national language because the keyboard. Yeah, because they're like, we need to be technologically adept, but this won't do it. And then some breakthrough, some guy was like, I can figure out how to do this. And he made 70,000 characters on 100. But like for a hot minute, they were going to change their language
because of the technology. Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, I know I talked about it in my example, but do you think that the bias changes depending on the platform you're using? So Claude versus ChatGPT, et cetera.
Yes. In evidence I have of that is Google overcorrected, and because a lot of the photos, and this is probably 2 years ago, were not surfacing any diversity. So they started forcing diversity onto photos where you shouldn't see it.
Okay.
And so I know that they're tweaking the algorithms. I think Grok will, for instance, let you basically
what is Grok?
Oh, Grok or Grok. That's the thank you. That's the AI service that's similar to, say, ChatGPT or Google Gemini, but it's run by X, formerly Twitter. That's Elon Musk's.
Okay.
And it will let you make images of anything, like celebrities. And we talked about that too with Sora too.
Was that okay?
Yeah.
And so we covered bias in training, bias in results.
Yep.
Intentional bias.
Yep. That was the poisoning, for instance.
Okay. And then the bias from humans, and then algorithmic bias treadmill.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So let me ask you, how could we use this, or what do we need to be aware of as educators or a general user of a system like this, knowing that there's these biases?
And so,
wait, by the way, is it biases? Biases?
Biases? I just got done telling you I don't know anything about linguistics.
I got to read the book.
Yeah, read the book. It'll tell you. Interesting, like this becomes a lesson. This becomes some kind of like digital citizenship where if you're using AI in your course, you can say this every day. You can be like, listen, folks, we know it's biased. Like, and it becomes a talking point. You need to be on guard and on edge and always looking for it. But there are some things you can do. One thing is there's a new AI tool out there called Latimer. It's just latimer.ai, which claims to be the most powerful AI models trained to interact with diverse users. So they're very aware of the bias and they're mitigating it at the training level.
Okay, so that's the first step. So
That's a step, yeah.
Okay, and then that's the content that they're training on. They're making sure that it's got a diverse exposure to a bunch of different things.
Yeah, it seems like a really cool company. I've kicked the tires a little bit on it.
Okay, and so as educators, when we're asking people to do things in AI, we want them to check and verify that they have different perspectives.
Yeah, and that's a good lesson, like AI aside, right? Like that lesson should always have existed. Like when I was growing up, we had encyclopedias, and yes, they were biased because history's written by those who hanged heroes. If you're a Braveheart fan, and so like, but we never had that conversation. So at least we can have that conversation because the evidence is right there in front of us, and I think that's a good conversation to have with your learners.
That's great, and then. Is it something that we have to think about when we're prompting too, or is it just the results we're getting? Like, do I need to, in the example I gave, I did, just a general teacher. Do I need to be more aware of that I'm conscious that there is a bias in this AI system, so I need to know that? Or if I see it and I say, wait a minute, why is it a Caucasian female? Can it be a male, an Asian male or African-American male, or Hispanic male?
Yeah. I mean, it depends on what the output is that you're looking for, but I think generally speaking, you always want to be aware of the bias and work around it when you need to. So
here's another interesting perspective is when I'm asking AI for something, should I ask it to keep in mind a diverse, background? So if I say like, what would be some really good restaurants, keeping in mind that I could give it what I like, but I also want a diverse food palette or something.
Yeah, or you could say like, I prefer non-chains. I want to support the local economy. I want to, whatever it's going to be. You should definitely do that. And generally speaking, the more permission you give AI, the better results you're going to get anyhow. So if you're giving it that permission to say like, I'm looking for the diverse cuisine, or I'm looking for the diverse restaurants in the area, you're going to get more richer answers.
Okay,
that's a good tip. That's a good tip. All right, I'm going to write that down.
Unless I'm on Meta, and then it's just going to give me burger and fries because it knows everything I do.
Yes.
Well, I think that's all the time we have for today. My name is Paul Engen.
And I'm Dave Gadoo.
If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe so you never have to miss an episode.
And share it with a friend or a colleague. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and thanks for looking through the immersive lens with us. And let's be careful out there, folks.
This episode was engineered by Jeff Kidd.
Recorded at Finger Lakes Community College Podcast Studios, located in beautiful Canandaigua, New York, in the heart of the Finger Lakes region, offering more than 55 degrees, certificates, micro-credentials, and workforce training programs.
Thank you to Public Relations and Communications, Marketing, and the Flix AI Hub.
Eager to delve into a passion? Discover exciting and immersive opportunities at flcc.edu.
As part of our mission at FLCC, we're committed to making education accessible, innovative, and aligned with the needs of both students and employers.
The views expressed in this podcast are those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official position of Finger Lakes Community College.
Music by Den from Pixabay.
This is the Immersive Lens.
Woohoo!
Jeff, where's your thing?
Nice
job. It will always be funny.
All right, I'm going to stop recording.